This is the Zeitgeist Cargo, and I'm looking at kind of a pre-production version, so a few things are a little bit off, namely this leather saddle and the leather grips. The final version will have rubber grips. They're still ergonomic, which I really like. I looked at the city version, which I would almost think of as more of like a road bike. This one's actually pretty, well equipped for the city. They call it the Cargo, and that's because they include these awesome Thule racks. We've got one up front here, along with this basket, and then we've got one in the back that's a little bit more traditional, kind of a rear rack thing with these awesome panniers that, these blue levers kind of clip them on, clip them off quickly, efficiently. Lots of space inside, great blockers on the side. I definitely love that additional hardware there, and it's good that they give you some of those extras because this is expensive, $6,999. It's $1,000 less than their, city bike. It's not a speed pedelec, and it's a little bit lower power. So the motor looks very similar. It's an 8-fun internally geared hub motor in the rear, 350 watts instead of 500 on the city. So, definitely smaller, maybe a little bit lighter, less copper winding in there and stuff. Still a fairly big visual footprint, but it's hidden well by the disc brake on the other side, 180 millimeters, and this 9-speed Shimano Alivio cassette. Decent hardware there. Good drivetrain, good stuff that way. The cranks aren't quite as nice, but still very good. And you've got these aluminum kind of bash guard thing going on. You can see the cadence sensor back here. It's a 12-magnet system, very responsive. The other one, they said it was kind of like a torque sensor, and it worked pretty well, but it almost felt like a cadence sensor. I didn't feel like I had to push especially hard for it to respond. And for someone with sort of injured knees like myself, it's nice that you don't have to overexert yourself. And especially when you've got cargo loaded up on something like this, it's going to weigh a little bit more. Definitely a sweet bike, but with all the racks and everything, I think it's in the 63-pound range, so a little bit heavier. The battery's still about 5 pounds. You can easily take that off. You can charge it on or off the bike, which is nice, and it's really well integrated into the down tube. And they've kind of got this like coppery color, metallic, really cool. Comes in one size. It's sort of that standard medium, like maybe 19-inch frame. And then the stem is a little bit more angled up, and you've got just a slight rise in the handlebars and maybe a little bit less aggressive than the city bike, but still pretty aggressive, a little bit more active on the ride here. The suspension fork is nice. It helps to take the edge off. And this one's a little bit lighter weight, a little bit narrower, so it's definitely designed for more of a city bike like this. But it does have a lockout. So if you're really looking for that efficiency to maximize your range, you can lock the suspension out. I appreciate that. That's a good thing. They've even included a fun little bell. There's a little kind of a mounting option for an additional light, but in this case, it's sort of taken for the basket, so you probably have to get lights yourself. The wheel set here is a 28-inch 700C, but the tread and everything is a little bit more hybridized. So 700 by 45C. It's got the armadillo puncture protection stuff going on. So again, definitely good rolling momentum, pretty efficient kind of design here. You could take this off-road a little bit, like on a dirt trail or something, but probably not mountain biking. It's, again, kind of a good city bike, probably great for commuting and carrying that kind of cargo, right? It's not the kind with the huge rack or the big front bucket or anything, but definitely really capable of hauling. I would say, you probably end up putting these racks on yourself if you get this online, and I've noticed that this one slipped down a little bit, so as I was riding, you could kind of hear it buzzing. You can kind of just reposition that yourself with these zip ties and stuff, but over time it might continue to slide down. You could get some rubber behind those just so they don't slide as much, and maybe even kind of zip tie it up here somehow so that it doesn't sink down. And that's a comment on the rack design, not necessarily the bike. I love that it comes with hydraulic disc brakes. This one does not have motor inhibitors, but again, I think that's pre-production. The other Zeitgeist bike I look at did. It had the Tektro brakes. Good to have a motor inhibitor on something like this where it's a cadence sensing bike because it's not going to cut out as quickly as torque sensing. Here's the 180 millimeter rotor I was talking about. Quick release in the front. Great to be able to pack this up, put it in your car, or put it inside if you need to. And again, all the racks and stuff come off. So, maybe it's more closer to like a 50-pound bike with everything removed. Nice kickstand, adjustable length. Well-go pedals. I really like those ones. Definitely more a fan of these metal with the larger sort of traction pad than the plastic ones that I saw on the other bike. So kind of cool little upgrades between the two bikes. The wires on this one are still run through kind of the frame. There's a little bit of an extra sort of shelf, and you can see the wires tuck in down there. Pretty well hidden. Creates like a nice looking thing. Yeah, so overall, really cool aesthetic. Pretty good comfort options on this bike. Just definitely more expensive, especially for what I would consider maybe a touch above average. The battery pack is 36 volts. Got Samsung cells. I think it's 10.4 amp hours. So just almost average on what you're getting there in terms of battery capacity, but quality cells. This thing comes with like a 2-year comprehensive warranty, which is really nice. And you just get this like more refined look. It's a pretty kind of fancy option. I think that's kind of what they're going for, sort of that premium experience. And one of the areas that they've really focused in on is the display, this area up here, because it's completely removable. It's magnetic. You can take it off and then no one can mess with your bike. They can't activate it or anything without this little display. It is a 2-step activation process, which is kind of like, meh. You know, I prefer it to be just one, but you turn on the battery pack down here with that button, and then you come up here and there's a little button on the underside of the stem, and then it says King Meter and kind of comes to life. Gives you some great readouts here, including your battery capacity. You've got your pedal assist mode first and foremost, and you can switch through that by pressing the little button on the bottom, or you can use this wireless control pad. I think it's working on this one. The other one, it wasn't working right away, but you know, you press it, you go up. I'm not sure if I need it to be wireless. Like a little wire going from there to there wouldn't bother me too much, and I worry about, am I going to need to replace the batteries on this? How long does it last? And then I can't, you know, and then you have to take your hand off the grip to go down here. So the convenience of this may be lost. I think it is removable. You might be able to slide it off just like the display. So anyway, we've got our pedal assist level. You can go to your speed, go to your distance. As far as assist, you start at 0 and you can go all the way up to 9, or it kind of circles. So if you're using the button, it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 right? Just like that. So 9 increments is pretty good. That's pretty fine. And I think it sort of pairs nicely with the 9-speed drivetrain down here. That's enough gears to climb hills or to go a little faster, but this is not a speed pedelec. Top speed is 20 miles per hour, so it's a Class 1 electric bike. There's no throttle. Which could be nice if this was really loaded up to help you start, if you had a little throttle or trigger or something. But, you know, it keeps the cockpit super clean because you've got the display all integrated and just, you know, a set of shifters over here. So overall, pretty clean, pretty nice bike that way. I think I've hit most of the specs on it, but I wanted to call out the quick disconnect that they've got down here. So if you do need to do rear wheel service, if that armadillo puncture protection ever fails, you need to get the wheel off, you're just going to need to have a tool to get in here. You can see kind of the motor cable, the power cable coming out right there, and you can even see into the tubing, the chainstay over there. That's something new to me. I haven't seen that before up close. So, and I think this is just stickers to make it look kind of like carbon fiber. This one's all aluminum, and that accounts for some of the heavier weight we were talking about before in the low 60s, 60 pounds. So very cool. I'm gonna hop on this thing, cruise around a little bit, and let you see how the motor activates, and, you know, share some final closing thoughts. One thing I noticed for sure about the rack up here is that it adds weight, and so it can easily kind of tip all the way like that, and you hear it kind of clicking against the frame. You know, it's functional and there's a lot of room in there, but because it's not connected to the weight and strength of the frame, you know, it does impact steering. And this bike just feels heavier when you're riding it, especially with gear. You know, it's like you're kind of loaded up. I don't think that's any different from other cargo bikes. It's something to keep in mind, and at least in this case, you could take the racks off, and then it just becomes kind of a standard, you know, city-style bike. So let's see here. I'm gonna go all the way up to pedal assist level 9. Get some noise happening down there. Here we go. So it's not immediately responsive like a torque sensor, but it's pretty good, and it cuts out quickly when I stop pedaling, and with those integrated motor inhibitors on the brake, that would be even more immediate. So I like that. You may hear that buzzing down there a little bit. And that's that That's the rack kind of rubbing on the tire. And again, that's something I think you just kind of adjust yourself. But a little bit of a comment just on the Thule system here. Since the fork is a little bit tapered or flat, there isn't much for the rack to really, you know, clip onto. Well, I think that's about it. There's a lot to appreciate here. It's great when a bike comes with some additional accessories, but you know, given the price, I understand why they're included because you're paying quite a bit. This is a unique bike. It looks pretty cool. Only one size, so you know you want to be a person who's okay with a high step frame like this and a little bit of extra weight. But I love the suspension, and just the power of this motor is a little bit higher than a lot of the other sort of, you know, standard 350 watt bikes that I test out. So I appreciate that. I think it's pretty cool, and the warranty is great. So for the full write up on this and some other, you know, city style electric bikes or cargo bikes as it were, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.